is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
You all ready for this? Dun 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 dun.
No.
Y'all, just stop.
This is a sham. Welcome to DBL. It's Tuesday, October 12th. I'm Jeff here with my friends Erica and Al. How we feeling? Looking good.
Thanks. I feel good because I literally just texted my girl, want to go to Costco tonight. You're of a certain age when we were starting the show like, man, nothing bad can happen today.
That's my jam. I love that.
Cannot wait.
I find peace in like going to Costco when it's not too crowded and I could go up and down every aisle.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
It's like going to Disney on a Tuesday. No one's there.
Huh.
It's the best. And Dre called you like snatched before. I wish someone said that to me before the show.
Well, I'm stamped. I'm stamped and snatched.
I have not heard
have
stamped.
My jure for the
course
sleigh.
you are.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but
we have to talk about the fact that our glam squad is back.
Yes.
Okay,
But like
we are elevated.
Right before the show, if someone's like, hey, we're about to start in 3 seconds. Jeff, snatch. I'd be like, yes.
Now they're going to feel pressure to say.
Now it doesn't even mean anything. Now you're just saying it. All right. Kim Kardashian West is under fire over a joke she made about O.J. Simpson on SNL over the weekend. We played it on the show yesterday. Here it is again.
It's because of him that I met my first black person. Want to take a stab in the dark at who it was? I know it's sort of weird to remember the first black person you met, but OJ does leave a mark. Or several. Or none at all. I still don't know.
Well, Nicole Brown Simpson's sister is upset over the jokes. She told TMZ they were, quote, in poor taste and beyond inappropriate and insensitive. She also questioned how much the Kardashians actually cared about Nicole, since Kris was good friends with her back in the day, and said Kim should have pushed back and refused to do the jokes. Listen, I'll be the first one to say I praised Kim Kardashian yesterday. I said I thought she did a good job. I even said the writing was spectacular. And then when you actually look into it, there is a family involved here, and I think even myself tend to I forget that sometimes.
Well, how do you feel about it as a comedian?
No, I just, Erica, I wish there was some precedent if somebody had ever told an OJ joke before. Like, has that ever happened? Like, maybe on late night for maybe years on end? Maybe Chris Rock had a OJ joke in his special? I can't remember. Why are we acting like this is the first time somebody's made a joke about OJ? He is woven into our society, Erica, and no matter how you feel about him, he marks an era of the mid-90s that spawned things like Court TV, spawned things like these true crime podcasts that we have, people investigating, looking for bloody gloves and the voicemails. This is a cottage industry, and a lot of it was started by OJ. So let's not act like this one joke is what we need to deem insensitive. You could argue that the entire new platform of murder porn, which is a term, was started by him. So let's not act like, we're just new to the dance here. That was an old man saying right there.
Well, no, I think that I completely receive everything that you're saying. I can understand when I first heard the opening monologue, that was the first thing I thought. Is there going to be a response from Nicole Brown Simpson's family? Which makes a lot of sense to me, because one thing that you're leaving out is if it weren't for the OJ story and this being a Hollywood story, would we have the Kardashians in this way? I mean, OJ was the catalyst to opening up that name even being a household name. So I can understand the sister who is still grieving the loss of her sister coming forward to be like, was this ever a cool situation where you loved my sister at all, or are you just benefiting from her tragic demise and also doubling down on it decades later? I think that's a fair question. I'm not saying that the monologue, I thought Kim did well, but I think both of those things can really exist.
Absolutely.
Like, is it disrespectful even more so for her?
Well, Jeff said at the top, it's a family. It's somebody.
It's coming from a sister
people.
makes it a little different, right? It's not just someone speculating on Twitter. So I totally see what you guys are saying, and I think it is nuanced, and there is two sides because it's such a cultural phenomenon. What happened? What OJ to call it that?
Right.
And I know it's more than that. All right, let's move on. Netflix is standing by Dave Chappelle's controversial special called The Closer. I actually watched it last night, Al.
Okay.
Dave has been criticized for making jokes about the LGBTQ community, and in particular, transgender people. After some demanded that Netflix remove the special, Netflix said in an email to the staff that it didn't think the special incited hate or violence, so they left it up. But a transgender Netflix software engineer disagrees. She was suspended for crashing a virtual Netflix executives meeting and openly criticized Netflix on Twitter last week, writing quote, "What we object to is the harm that content like this does to the trans community, especially trans people of color and very specifically black trans women." All right, Erica, you're pretty vocal about this subject. I want to know, what do you think about this?
See, this is a very difficult conversation for me to have because in the interest of transparency, I have not seen the special.
Okay.
So, and I think that's the problem when we're having these conversations, like, is this meant to put context to this debate or to this conversation? Because in order to put context to it, we'd have to see it, but is in the call to have it taken down. So it's like, it's kind of this weird conundrum that we end up in the middle of, like, do I rush to see the special so that I can comment on it, or do I boycott the special in support of LGBTQIA community? That's like a, what do you do?
Good question.
What's the ask?
Good question. But for you specifically, you work in television, so to see it is part of your job, so to speak, right?
Right. And I've been very open about the fact that I love and appreciate Dave Chappelle. Right. I don't agree with everything that anyone does, but I can't speak to this.
Right, and I mean, Erica, if you want to watch the special, do like I did, have crazy insomnia at 2:30 in the morning last Thursday and knock it out. I did watch the special. Ironically, we ended up talking about it for the first time last Friday. And I went into it like I think a lot of people did, hearing people from all over the room saying this is hate speech and this should be taken down. And what I heard was probably crude language, which is what you expect when you watch stand-up a lot of times. But I heard a very humane experience that he had with one trans person that was really powerful. And for me, especially as somebody that's been dealing with this before it was interesting for people on Twitter, I'm talking about 10 years ago, this is something my family was happy to go through and move forward with a family, so I maybe look at it differently. But he talked about having a real human experience, and a human experience isn't always pretty. It's not always ideal. You're shedding a lot of the things that have been implanted in you as a child, biases, things like that, and to remove yourself of all that barnacle to become reborn again is an ugly process. And the fact that he was willing to put himself out there and show the steps that he did to get to where he was mentally, I appreciated that. I appreciate people also saying I was offended by that, because you are allowed to be offended, and who more than the LGBTQ plus community has been offended regularly. So I get both sides, but I think if you listen to it, I think you'll see a person trying to explain it, how they evolved. It was just kind of clunky.
Yeah, and I saw, I don't want to just, and we're out of time, and I don't want to put in a 5-second statement here, but I saw yesterday what you were talking about exactly. So if you watch it, you'll understand what Al is talking about. All right, coming up on DBL, you know her from The Practice and Ghost Whisperer. Cameron Mannheim is here. We're getting her take on actors in quote-unquote fat suits in Hollywood. And what would you do if you found a celebrity cell phone? Well, one lucky couple did, and we're chatting about it next.
Closed captioning provided by...
As someone who resembles...
We're all talking about how Erica on the panel said that she was receiving what I was saying, which is the way a lawyer would say, I heard you, but I'm not rendering any opinion on what you said. But yeah, Erica, would you sit down and watch this special? It's an hour out of your time. You are the busiest woman I know. Yeah. Would you do that, or is this kind of something that you would normally watch a Chappelle?
Yeah, I'm absolutely watching it. It's just, I find these situations so complicated for the reasons I stated earlier. What is the call? Is the call to action for no one to continue to stream this, but to continue to comment on it? Because when we do that, and that's
I'd like to get to Demi Lovato
right now, it's rampant on social media. You don't have any context or facts or any point of reference, but you're going to continue to be a part of this conversation, not knowing what you're talking about. So I think this is a perfect chance to have conversation where people actually are watching it and speaking from a place that they know. The craziest thing to me is regardless of what is portrayed in this special, are people who are like, I would never watch it and I would never support anything that he has to say, and what he did was absolutely fundamentally wrong. Well, how do you know? Like, how do you know if you haven't heard it? So I think that's just something that we can take anywhere.
Yeah, it's really tough. You need to watch it and just decide for yourself. And that's, no matter how you feel, it's right if that's how you feel.
Welcome back to DBL. A couple in New York recently found a cell phone in a taxi and were surprised to find out who it belonged to. Take a look.
So Josephine and I are coming home from New York Comic Con, and a phone starts ringing in the back of the cab. We pick it up and eventually find out whose phone it is, and we get a phone call from somebody who's very nervous that they've lost their phone. And look whose phone it is.
Was that her punishment or her gift for finding the phone? Anyways, Molly Shannon told the couple the phone must have slipped out of her purse. She called it from the hotel and ended up obviously meeting up with them to collect it. But when they're like, hey, we got your phone, do you mind just doing that superstar thing for us? You gotta do it.
I think that was a little negotiation point. And it does show you now that TikTok views are more important than money. Like, she could have said, hey, guess $1,000, but she's like, promised to sign a 3 TikTok deal with us. And there it is.
I mean, it looked like they came, was that the hotel room?
It might have been their house. It looked like
I was like, nobody seemed to be on the outs in this situation.
Well, I mean, I've had this situation in a much different way. You know, obviously, I changed my phone number maybe like 5 or 6 years ago, and whoever else got my phone number started to answer the phone as me, and like caused issues, and I had to go to the authorities. It was really, really, really bad. So you need to watch out, like, who gets your phone, and because people can text now without them hearing your voice, saying, hey, meet me here, and you know, it's really scary.
Everything's in there.
Yeah.
Right. I want to get this story in. Demi Lovato is on the search for extraterrestrials. Just don't call them aliens. While promoting their new Peacock show, I'm getting used to that, Unidentified, about uncovering the truth about UFOs, Demi told an Australian website that the term alien is offensive and derogatory, and we should call them ETs instead. Listen, everyone's kind of giggling around the studio. When are we going to talk about people's mental health, Al? You bring it up a lot. Is it okay? Is it fair to talk? You don't think
speculate about that, but it does seem strange.
I can't speculate about that?
No, and I'm saying you can't as the grader, the editorial, we can't. But the last time that we heard from them, they were complaining about a display at an ice cream store and not having enough vegan options or something near the cash register. They have had a history of having some very strange things going on around them. And especially when you're promoting a show, I don't know if this is the best way to get eyeballs on it, Erica. Am I tripping? Like, when you tell me don't call it a UFO, I'm like, well, how about I call it I'm not watching?
Right, yeah, no, fair point. I just look at it like this, you know, it's almost piling on. Now, Demi came out and said that they were non-binary, and this is something that they got a lot of backlash for, in my opinion, very unfairly so, and with prejudice pretenses. I don't feel like now is the time to be commenting on the correct way to address a life form that, to my knowledge, most of us have not met.
Right.
They have not articulated how they would like to be referred to. So I don't think it's fair to the extraterrestrial population to speak for them, to say this is how the offensive versus non-offensive way to address them.
Would you say that she's ET-splaining?
This might be a little of E.T. splaining.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like let's hear from them to say, hey, welcome. It's great to be here on Earth. Here's what we like to be called. Or they burn all our buildings down and take us all for slaves. Either way, we need to have. I'm serious. Either way, I don't think that she should be speaking for aliens.
You guys took it somewhere else. I was going this way. You guys went very politically correct and well said.
I mean,
you guys aren't worried that aliens are going to be very hostile when they get here?
You're not worried about Demi Lovato's health? You're not worried about that at all?
I am, but it doesn't seem like she has any handlers.
I don't know.
And just patting her on the back and giving her more shows?
I don't know nothing about Demi Lovato's mental health. I do know that any population should have the freedom to tell us how they would like to be addressed, and we can't be extraterrestrial splaining.
There we go.
We'll be right back.
This was when...
On average, Americans upgrade their phones every 3 years. Not only does this let them get the latest features, it also keeps them up to date with the newest cell phone technology. Soon, the major cell phone companies will turn off their 3G networks, but some people are still clinging to old devices that could soon become obsolete. Verify viewer Barbara wants to know if she needs to upgrade her beloved phone. So Barbara, let's verify. Do you have to upgrade a 3G only cell phone? Our sources are the FCC, the 3 major cell phone companies, and cellular technology expert David Burgess. The G in 3G stands for a generation of standards for cell phone networks. With each generation comes new technology to connect your phone to a tower. When 3G first arrived in the U.S. in 2002, it was supposed to be a way to send data more efficiently.
This was the idea with 3G. In reality, 3G was a bit of a disappointment.
That's because it was too slow to keep up with consumers' demands. 4G arrived in 2009 and proved more useful as technology evolved. Today, cell phone companies are touting 5G, but to support the rollout, the FCC says most carriers are ending 3G service next year.
Anything that doesn't support 4G or 5G will just quit working once those networks are phased out.
So, it's true. You will have to upgrade a 3G-only cell phone. The CTIA says fewer than 9% of wireless connections in the U.S. are on 2G or 3G networks. The earliest you'll have to upgrade is January 1st, 2022. But the exact date depends on your carrier. So you'll want to ask your cell phone provider soon so you're prepared. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
$242,000. That's my problem.
You know the pay structure, percentage of the business brought in.
I know that we take her clients, not mine. I know that.
Voted on that asbestos
right.
client.
3 hands for, 2 against, and since yours count double.
Is that why you went to Jimmy? To put a hand in your pocket?
$242,000.
Since when did you take such a strong interest in math, Eleanor?
Certain equations fascinate me.
Welcome back to DBL. You know Cameron Mannheim as the powerhouse attorney Eleanor Frutt in The Practice. She recently spoke to us about her new movie about dying with dignity. That's today's Chatting with the Stars, and that was Demi Lovato.
Cameron joins us live to talk.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on to talk about Killing Eleanor. It's such an important movie, and I'm so glad to be a part of it.
We cannot wait to learn more about this movie. It seems super dark and just interesting, but I know it has a comedic twist. But first, I want to talk to you about, because a lot of our viewers brought this up. You dedicated your 1998 Emmy win for The Practice to quote unquote all the fat girls. Do you think that there are enough roles for bigger actresses in Hollywood? Because what's your take on many of the thinner actresses wearing fat suits? For example, we just heard from Sarah Paulson. She's wearing a fat suit. Renee Zellweger is going to be wearing a fat suit. How do you feel about that? I don't even like using the term fat suit, but that's what's written.
Yeah.
What I think is that when you have the availability of people who are exactly what that character is, who are talented and bright and able to do that, we have to start choosing, you know, fat, curvy, plus-size women to be playing these roles because there's so few that are available. Why don't we give them to the authentic actor who can play it? And then we're not saying like Renee Zellweger, who's a brilliant actress, and also, you know, Sarah Paulson, who's brilliant. it's like they put on a suit, they play a character, and then they get to take it off and come and look gorgeous at the award shows. And what are we saying ultimately about women who are plus size, curvy, or fat, however you choose to say it? What are we saying about that? Because there are incredible actors out there, ready, willing, and able to play those parts. So it's a complicated subject because I know commerce and making money is also involved. And there's some times where I think we really need to cast like authentically, like deaf people should never, ever be played by hearing people. I'm going to say that right now. But there are other things where I think that there's ways to, use all actors of all sorts to play humanity. Isn't that what we're doing?
Beautifully
Shining
said.
a light on humanity.
Yep. Yeah, that was very well said. I love that answer. Very
Probably
nuanced.
too long for a 6-minute segment.
No. Thank you so much, Cameron. We're done. Speaking of controversial topics, your new film, Killing Eleanor, is a dark comedy about a woman who wants to end her life, but on her terms. Why was this story important for you, particularly, Cameron?
Well, it's incredible. It's two women, brilliant women. One who wants to end her life because she's really come to the end, and another woman who is an addict and hit rock bottom, and she's willing to help Eleanor get to a place where she can die in exchange for clean urine. Can you imagine? There's the comedy right there.
Wow.
But it's really about these broken, beautiful, strong women coming together to lean on each other in a really, really dark time in their lives. And it was important for me to play because my dear friend Annika Marks, who wrote the show, nothing available for her in Hollywood, even though she's one of the best actresses I've ever met. So she says, I'm going to write a movie for myself. I'm going to cast a 60-plus-year-old woman to play my co-star, and I'm going to bring my mom in to do craft service, and I'm going to populate it with women behind the scenes and in front of the camera. And all around, this film is incredible. It's funny, it's irreverent, it's beautiful, it's gorgeously written, gorgeously acted, and it's a great film. I just watched it again last night, and I wrote to Annika, the star, just saying, you are gorgeous at every turn. This film filled my heart, made me laugh, and made me so grateful for my beautiful life. What more could you want from a film?
Yeah. Wow. Sold.
But I want to get to your son, Milo. He's an actor, too. You guys work together, like we mentioned earlier, in Ghost Whisperer. Could you guys see yourself working together down the road again?
Yeah, like I'm waiting for him to become my Ben Affleck and, have a studio and create a film and give me a leading role as the leading fat lady in the show. Just to wrap it all up. No, he is a gift from the heavens to me. He's the best production I've ever done yet. He's the best kid, a great ambassador for Disney, and I can't wait to work with him at some point in a really important and fun film. And I know that will happen.
Before you go, I just want to say shout out to single parents out there.
Yep.
You guys do amazing things. I'm a parent. Luckily, I have me and my wife, but I can't even imagine being a single parent. So shout out to you.
But this is like, she's got enough personality. You. Like, do you understand how great your kid is going to be because this is your mom? Like, what? I've just been listening to her. I haven't said a word, so it's been a pleasure.
Well, I've dragged him to women's marches.
Yes,
I've brought him to the theater.
Yes.
I've made him sit through every musical on the planet. He's bound to turn out okay. He's a good guy.
Thanks, Cameron.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Catch Cameron in Killing Eleanor now. The movie begins streaming today. We'll be right back.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by...
Realize it or not, Facebook is tracking a lot of your personal data and sharing it with advertisers. Though Facebook says it doesn't sell personal information like your name or the content of your posts, it does use nameless profiles of users and their interests to personalize advertisements. The company said this improves users' experiences by showing relevant content, and it helps small businesses. But Jonathan S. Weissman, a senior lecturer at Rochester Institute of Technology, said the reward is not worth the risk.
Despite the fact that it's creepy, the inherent benefits of seeing ads you might be interested in It's not worth the risk of your privacy.
Even when you're not using Facebook, the company is collecting data about your internet habits through an advertiser tool called Facebook Pixel that's built into the code of millions of other websites.
Every site that uses the Facebook Pixel passes your information to Facebook. As a result, there's almost nothing that Facebook doesn't know about you.
If you're uncomfortable with Facebook collecting that much personal information, there are ways to limit sharing. First, on a mobile device, expand the hamburger menu in the bottom right corner, then go to Settings and Privacy, Settings, Off Facebook Activity, Clear History, then Clear History. To prevent Facebook from collecting future off-platform data, go to More Options, Manage Future Activity, then toggle off Future Off Facebook Activity.
Welcome back to DBL. We only have 30 seconds, but Erica, you got some breaking news. You spotted a cheater.
Yeah, I really just have this PSA. If you are going to go to a trivia night at a bar, restaurant, whatever, don't cheat. You can't be Googling answers. Okay, we had a very stacked team of diverse knowledge, and we were very excited to be there. We wanted a fair competition. That is whack. Do not cheat at trivia.
Return your shopping cart and use your turning signals. We'll see you guys tomorrow.